Hello everyone and welcome back to another one of the Southag preview videos. And in this one we're gonna go over all the other stuff that doesn't have to do with sexy Canadian planes and stuff. Like all the things that have to do with the free stuff that comes to the game next to the paid DLC. And there is quite a lot of stuff there as well. From better AI units to a new tool that you can use for testing units that is really helpful, especially for modders, but also for people who just want to see unit interactions and figure out the balance maybe a bit more as well, to a good amount of balance changes and especially a hell of a lot of maps. So let's start talking about the AI improvements, and there are a couple. Army General one is relatively simple. The AI moves faster in their turn, so that you can get back to your turn quicker on the movement of the map. And then the battle AI is the big one. The battle AI is playing a lot more aggressive now, and is actually trying to use a lot more tools as well, like using APCs to move infantry towards you in the attacks, using helicopters a bit more wisely, and also using smoke a lot more for the attacks. All this is still a bit of a work in progress, so if you have any feedback about those things, let them know to Eugen in a structured way in their reworked Discord channel as well. They have a new way of getting feedback in there that is a good bit more structured, so give them the feedback there in a helpful manner, not just say AI is bad, but say like what exactly you dislike, what exactly you like, and they will give it a look and try to improve it, as they are working quite hard on that AI path. So those are the first things out of the way, and let's get to the normal unit balance, and let's start with the generic ones, which are actually not that many. The first one is flamethrowers, the hand one. So when we go to flamp, like all these flamethrowers, like the LFB, now have an aim time of 2 seconds. So that should help out all these flamethrower units to be a bit more relevant again. Their damage output is still not overwhelming, but they do good stress. And they do good damage that they should win against normal infantry now in a better fashion again. As the issue with these guys was often that they were stunned down with their 4 second aim time before their enemy ran away, before they even had a chance of shooting these flamethrowers. So with 2 seconds, the enemy still has a bit of reaction time. It's not instant, but you get it out a good bit quicker and can be able to stun the enemy down before they deal too much damage to you. So all these flamethrower infantry should be a lot better. So yeah, that's really the only big generic one. And that moves us on to the USA, where we usually start, and moves us to the first unit there, which is the LAV. And the LAV went down 10 points, but also went from very good to good optics, as it only has normal optics suit, and that makes more sense uh, compared to other units in the game. At 70 points, it's a lot better as a combat unit though, so I think this is actually kind of a buff to the LAV and how you use it. So yeah, being able to raid behind enemy lines should be quite nice with this one now. And then we have a second change, which is kind of universal. Um, so that's the military police vehicles, like the Humvee, are in a lot more divisions now. Like this military Humvee now, police Humvee is basically every division that has military police, and that goes for all nations. So all nations now have military police vehicles with their military police units, and that will be helpful for divisions like 24th Infantry, where you have a lot of National Guard Bradleys and could use some military police vehicles to help out with them. So yeah, all those vehicles are a lot more present now across the board for all nations. Really helpful with the West Germans and TKS as well. They've got the VW now. So that's another nice one. Then a nice buff to the US on is the Ito buff. Ito here. That one always had a bit of an issue with availability. Like, it is a bit of a mid-tier ATGM with high accuracy, long range though, and it was suffering from being a bit lower than in availability than Milan and Conqueror's. Like the 4-2-1 availability curve that it had made it so that you often didn't even pick it because it was just not that card efficient. Now it is a bit better. It has now 5-3-2 availability curve. The National Guard one 6-4. So the Ito now is still a bit lower than the Milan 2 in availability curve, but at least not that far off anymore. And upweighting that to and still getting 3 availability might be worthwhile as well. So Ito is a viable unit now, and I think that's a nice one there too. And then another American unit that got changed up nicely is the Quick Fix. That one got added the second trade, went up 10 points though for it, but this is going to be an interesting unit now with Jammer and Second. You can really get some nice intelligence out of it early in the game, whilst reducing the intelligence that the enemy can get. And on a helicopter platform, especially one that is so survivable as the Quick Fix, Second is also a lot more helpful than on infantry in my eyes, because you can move it more around to actually check like where is the spot where the radar pops up. So that's a nice one, I think, and gonna add to a bit of a unique playstyle here with these guys. So Quick Fix here with the second trade, that is a nice one. Then we have a Corsair buff to the rocket one. This one now comes with 3 availability, base availability. That's a change that has been done to a lot of 2 availability rocket planes, going up to 3 base availability. The A7D Corsair is one of those. Unfortunately, still has struggles to get all their Hydras out. They should be split into 2 weapons with half the load, so that it has a higher rate of fire. But yeah, 14 Hydra rockets, it takes quite a couple of runs to actually use them all up. And the Hydra itself doesn't deal that much damage per run, so yeah, I wish they would split them in half, but still a nice buff here with the availability, and should help out that plane to be used a good bit more. And then we have the National Guard Engineers, which come with the flamethrower, going from base availability 6 to base availability 8. So this is a really nice squad now to bring around with the flamethrower buff, with 12 hit points and 8 base availability. That should give 35th US the base infantry that it needs. And then we also have the National Guard rifles with the M67. And that one went from base availability 8 to base availability 9, which also means that the threat curve, instead of 8.53, is now 8.6, 9.6. Can only go up when wet, so it's 8.5 to 9.6 now. So that helps out with the availability of these guys as well, and in general helps out 35th, which we will come to in a second, as it gets a couple more buffs as well. M109s all across the board get a bit more off-road speed. So M109 had a bit of a weird low off-road speed of only 40, now goes 50. That should help us out repositioning, and especially once it gets actually hit by counter battery, still getting out alive. So M109's survivability there increased across the board for all nations that have them. So that's a nice one. And yeah, then we have all the military police Humvee units that come around. And then 35th, let's jump into that deck and let's have a look at another buff that it got. So logistic step, it got 1 3-pointer turned into a 2-pointer, so it has good logistics now. Recon tab, same thing. This was a 3-pointer, is now a 2-pointer. And same thing goes for AA. 1 3-pointer turned into a 2-pointer. So this division now can bring like 1 or 2 more cards of units, and has better availability on the infantry here. So these guys and these guys here coming around in higher numbers. So that is pretty nice. And yeah, there's one thing that also changed across the board, and that is availability curves of all units with 4 base availability. Like, a lot of them were 4-1 already. Some were 4-3-2, like the M60A one. Eugen standardized it across the board now, so it's 4-2-1 everywhere. This is a bit of a nerf here, actually, to the M60 and the OH58, which had the 4-3-2 curve variant, and units, especially in the artillery tab, like the D30. So, yeah, that's a general change that I guess got made out of house cleanings, just so that the wet curves are not all random across the board. Eugen likes to have them, like, standardized, but yeah, it also leaves a couple of units nerfed that maybe didn't quite need it, especially D30s in my eyes. But yeah, in 35th US, there was that small nerf to the recon tab in that case as well. Whilst, yeah, it got the other buffs. So in general, I would still say the division got a decent buff, but yeah, those changes obviously working a bit against that. Then we have the UK, and there we start with a change to the Fox. Fox going back down to 65 points. As, yeah, with a lot of other changes of 50 cards being able to deal with one frontal armor and so on, the Fox didn't really feel that scary anymore. And uh, it can be dealt with quite efficiently, and it really hasn't done that much work and hasn't been seen that much lately. And compared to the love with the Bushmaster and the new Spanish unit, this one is a bit weaker as well, as it has only one frontal armor, only has the 3 penetration compared to the 4 of the Bushmaster. So being cheaper makes sense as well. So Fox now at 65 points. It's still a fast ambush vehicle. It's a bit faster than those vehicles. So it still can't be too cheap. Otherwise, it will just be used for a lot of real-line shenanigans like it had been in the alpha. But it should be now a bit better cost efficiency-wise for the openers. Here we also have more aircraft that got their availability buffed with the Harrier Rocket 1, which comes in second UK, and the Jaguar Rocket 1, which comes in the other 2 UK divisions, 4th and 1st, going up to 3 base availability as well. So these 1 rocket pod planes could be a bit more viable. Then in the AA tab, the Javelin went down to 30 points. So that manpad, which has relatively low helicopter range and has to guide its weapon in, which often leads to it not quite being able to keep the track the whole time, or lose a line of sight and then not being able to really shoot and get the weapon off. Like, yeah, that, and losing track there as well. Like, that's not a great manpad, and now it is priced like that. It has still good accuracy, but yeah, 4 damage, low range, so should be a bit closer to the other weak manpads. Still beats them a lot by accuracy, so makes sense that it is still a bit more expensive than a Strela 2 or Fliegerfaust, but is now a bit more economical. And we stay in the AA tab here, as below that, the Darkfire went down 10 points. The Rapier FSB1 went down 15 points from 110 both. And the Rapier FSA went down 5 points from 75 to 70 points. So all of these are a bit more cost efficient now. And yeah, Darkfire was already quite nice beforehand, is now a bit better. Helps out 4th and Mnet, which both are fine with that buff. So that's a nice one. And then the Command Sultan went down to 50 points. So this helps out the armored divisions a bit as well. And the Sultan is now comparable in price to other slow CV options that have no weapon on it. So that's a fair change as well. That brings us to West Germany, where we have a couple of changes as well. One is housekeeping with the Leo 1A1. A1 leader going up 5 points, as it should have when the base layer 1A1 went up 5 points, so this is now 110 points. On the other side, M48s got a bit more side armor. The CGA here now has the same 5 side armor and 3 rear armor as the A2. And the A2 went back from 80 to 75 points, so TKS rejoices, as that was supposed to be the price of this one, which has the 80 points now coming in with Luftlander. And this one, having Reservist, obviously should have a discount, so it's down to 75 points. And yeah, that's basically it here for the West Germans, as the divisions they have are in a pretty fine spot. TKS being helped out a bit with this, plus the addition of the Feldjäger VW, which can help out with this as well and get you the reservist trait of these reservist tanks, like this unit here now being in all West German divisions, should help out TKS especially, and that's the only division that really needed any help. Then we come to the French, which come along with a slight buff to the Alouette 3 recon helicopter. That now is down to 30, same as the Me Too, which is kind of a stats clone of, so that makes sense. So helping out a couple of French divisions here, like all of these Alouettes here now at 30 points. Alouette 3, they're going down. Jaguar 3HE went down slightly in price as well. This one here going from 255 to 245. So slight buff there to the 5th and 11th and to the new 6th as well. And Jaguar Rocket going up in availability. The Jaguar Rocket 1 from 2 to 3. And the Superintendant, same thing, going up from 2 to 3 availability, like the other rocket planes. So that's it for the most part. The P4 Gendarmerie went down to 20 points, as yeah, this is now a military police unit. But yeah, that's just a normal one there, and then we have all these units added, and then we have one new unit for the French, and that comes in 11th parachutist. They lost one card of their amazing Paramarines, but that is because they got another amazing Paramarine option. So you have 3 cards of normal Paramarines now, and you have 1 card of Paramarine Eric's with the amazing Eric's launcher, 5 points extra for a launcher that is even better than the Apilas, because it has 26 pen, 1050 meter range. It is an ATGM, so it has fly time to the target, so if the unit gets stunned down whilst this is flying, it's going to miss. But if it hits, 26 pen does a lot of damage, and that should really help out this infantry pushing forward and gives you a bit more range. The enemy has to stay a bit further away from you, like that 300 meter is a good jump. So Paramarine Eric's should be a nice addition to this division. And then we come to the Dutch, where we have a couple of nice changes as well. The Alouette 3 goes down in price for them as well. The Ito goes up in availability. And then we have the Dragon 1 teams going up in speed. So these now both go normal infantry speed and not normal ATGM unit speed. So you can actually push with them with your infantry and get a bit closer as well, which with their range is pretty important. So yeah, this is a bit better now. I still don't think these are really worthwhile, but yeah, they are a bit better. So if you want to use these meme units now, they function a bit better at what they do. The Maxon AA piece went up from 25 to 30 points, and that is a fair price, reducing a bit the capabilities of this as an absolute infantry delete machine, and making dealing with it more cost efficient, whilst it is still pretty good at that job. Though with minimum range and now the price, I don't think it's busted anymore. And then CLKA got a nice buff. the new like semi-reservist division of the Dutch, in that it got a second card of Leo 2A4Bs. So this now can have a decent compartment of heavy tanks, and that should make this division a lot better, actually. Like, I think this division will now show up regularly in tournaments, as the jump from 2 to 4 Leo 2s is a big one. And the division already has a lot of other good features, like it can open with helicopters and so on, so that should be a nice buff to this division. Belgium, on the other side, has gotten a lot of nerfs. No surprise there with the performance of the mobs over the last couple of weeks. So let's start with what all got changed there. The M41 went up to 45 points from 40. So that's the first nerf there. Second nerf to the tank tab, M47 went up from 50 to 60 points. From 55 to 60 points. So both the tanks getting a 5-point nerf. Then the Milan 1 of the Belgians is now back to the 50 points where all the other Milan 1s are. So you don't get a discount there anymore. The Provinciers move up 5 points as well. So their cost-efficient infantry is still cost-efficient at 45, is still fair, but it's not as busted OP spammable anymore. And their 75 AV that they can come in also now has reservist trait, which with the heavy MGs means quite a bit of a damage reduction from 20 to 15% accuracy. So this is not as efficient of a transport either. And then the 203mm artillery now comes in the base configuration that it should be at availability wise. As we can have a look here now, it comes with 2 base availability now, though. It's not 111 anymore, so it's kind of a buff if you are just wanting to have the mass loadout, but like the OP stuff was the cost efficiency that it had at 2-vet. For team games, this might even be better, but the just pure cost efficiency for getting this heavy artillery gun out early and then having super low aim time so it could hit anything really quickly, that was the really OP part, and that got changed now. You can only bring it at 1-vet, plus it went up 10 points as well. But that is not really a big change. This is still a really cost-efficient artillery piece. It's just not as busted there anymore as it had been before. So div mob got put into place, and yeah, the issues should be fixed. Maxon here going up to 30 points as well. So yeah, that's across the board quite a lot of changes there. Pact, we start with a big one. All BMP2s. Like there's a couple of general ones for Pact. BMP2s all went up 5 points, including all other nation BMP2s as well. So Czechoslovak, Polish, East Germans BMP2 went up 5 points. Recon 1, the Razvedka BMP2s went up 5 points as well. So BMP2 is nerfed across the board. Another nerf across the board is once again T55As, which went up to 90 points, and then the TO55 going up to 100 points. So yeah, 119th and 79th not having as much of a cost-efficient opener anymore. I'm a bit split on the T55 nerfs. I think the last nerf already kind of put them into place, and the divisions could have that still were kind of OP with them could have been nerfed in different ways, or already were nerfed in different ways with BMP2 nerfs. So not so sure about that one. I don't think it's the end of the world, but for Berliner Gruppierung, for example, it's kind of painful. And yeah, that's the nerfs. There is one big buff as well. All the T64Bs went down 5 points. So 25th heavy tanks, and also obviously 6 Motostrelki, which has 2 cards of T64Bs as well. Those all came down 5 points, as this was a relatively cost inefficient heavier tank beforehand, and now it should be in a better place. So that 5-point buff should help out with all of these guys uh, doing their job a bit better. And then we also have a small buff to the T62 M1s. These are the ones without the ATGM, as this only has 6 rounds per minute. As a gun-based tank, they were pretty cost inefficient as well, coming down 5 points, 135 and 130 points now, being a bit more on par with other tanks of their category. They have good frontal armor and good pen, but low accuracy and low rate of fire, so and low speed and all of that, so they should not be quite as high there. And then we have the Rechvetka BMP, the Rechvetka B4M, which is the same gun basically as the one in DivMob. From the stats, has the same price now, went up to 130 as well. And at the same time, there is a small buff to the BTR 40A, as this now has motion accuracy, so it can fire whilst moving against helicopters, stun them down, and potentially also deal some damage there. Has now stabilized accuracy of 2. So, yeah, that's mostly it for the Soviets. Su-17 rocket, which I'm not quite sure is... yeah, it's in 27th, and KDA. That's went up to 3 availability as well. So that's it there for these guys. Then the East Germans, we have the BMP2, the T55 changes, infecting the command ones as well. The T34 went up actually in speed, so this goes from 45 to 50 kmh. Slight buff to these guys, which could be nice. And yeah, that's about it for these guys. And then the Polish, we have the T72M nerf for the one that is in 20th Concerna without smoke, like the just basic T72M. Went from 45 to 155 points. The Polish AA went the Shilka here, that has the same stats as the Biusa, as it has the same fire control system. The M1 variant, the upgrade one, also now has the price of the Biusa and not of the East German Shilka, and the availability. So it went from 753 to 642 in availability curve, and went up 5 points to 85, so that 20th Panzerna is not as busted as it had been before. And yeah, that's... And then the Merida tank also now has the same as the other T55 AM2s. So the Merida here, like, now has an 853 instead of a 964 availability curve as well. So this tank is not overperforming anymore either. No direct nerfs to the recon units yet. So Honker Roos and so on are still around, but the divisions around them got brought a bit into place. So the Polish should still be solid, but not as OP anymore. And then to the Dejant Commandosi, you now can the Dejant Commandosi, which is these guys here. These guys can now come in a V3 Sokol as a transport helicopter. So these are the balance changes. Let's get into the maps. And that brings us to new maps, and there we have quite a couple as well. Starting with a fully new one with Izura, and that one has a couple of versions, including a 1v1 version. There are 6 new 1v1 maps in this, so we're gonna have a look at all of those as well. And yeah, Izura, a really beautiful one in the Danube, with one of the Donauschleifen here coming along, and the Isar here, I believe, is the river that goes in here. That's why it's called Izura, for the old name there. And it's a really nice map as well, with some interesting towns, some good spaces around, as a 1v1 map, I like it quite a bit with how close and active the combat is down here. Both sides having chances to flank, the corner to corner layout. I like a lot about this. It's not my favorite of the new 1v1 maps, but it is a good one. And the standard of the new 1v1 maps in general, a good bit higher than what we had in the past. Next fully new map is Chandra, which is 1v1 and 2v2. And this one is the second mirrored map, which means that they tried to get across the box here. This is not 100% mirrored like in something like StarCraft, because they obviously still want to have it look somewhat natural, but you can see this side has a hill here, this side has a hill here with a water tower. The zones are pretty much across the board. The buildings here and here are pretty similar. The buildings here and here are pretty similar. So they both have a town here, both have a town here. Like, this is quite close to that, and the balance between both sides, from my experience, is quite well good as well. And it's a really nice map as well. You have open spaces, you have a town fight in the middle, you have some forest patches to go through. If you get into the enemy's hill, that can be pretty annoying for them. There are flanking roads to go around towards the enemy if you want to do that. There's a lot of road networks here on the side, so I think this one has a lot of variety and can be tackled in a lot of different ways. And the just like both sides having 4 zones split out. It's really classic, but it works really nice. I'm a big fan of this map. And the next new map is Thaler, which has a 1v1 cut as well. That is pretty close and comfy, really in your face kind of map, because both sides' spawns are pretty close to each other. And that also has a big variant here, as you can see, for 10v10, base 3v3 from side to side, or also destruction 3v3, where the spawn of the enemy is over there and your spawn is over here, so it's a really long way. Like, there are a lot of cool cuts of this map. The 1v1 one is pretty simple, but does the job. So, like, this is just a pretty straightforward map. One center zone, you can push around the flanks. The deep zone is a +2 zone, so if you get there, that's strong, but the enemy is quite close there. And as I said, it's a really relatively close map where you get into the action quickly, and the reinforcement comes in quick as well, and that plays quite nicely. And the next new map we got is Eiche, which has a bigger 3v3 variant as well, where all of this is gone, and then it has a 2v2/1v1 variant here, where you play around these 2 big plateaus, which are quite nice in their looks. I like the color pattern of the map. I like the uh, plateau look here of these hills, where you also have really nice zones layouts here. Like, you have this compact lane over here between the 2 spawns on the side. Then you have the bit further away zones over here where you can push around the flank. And then another center hill, which is both worth it in points, and also obviously the big split of the map between the 2 lanes, so that if you control it, you can go either way. Really cool layout and a cool map, and one of my favorites of this patch. And then we have new 1v1 variants of Stoneware, where you have 2 2-pointer rear zones for both sides, which are surprisingly attackable, and then 2 1-pointers in the middle that are the big fighting zones, with open space here and more close range combat over here, with more forests around and harder line of sights. So, pretty standard one as well, and a nice recut. And then you got Surrounded 1v1 or Duel, which is all about that big hill in the middle and the lower platforms, like the 3 layers that come around it. It has 3 zones here in the middle. This might be my least favorite map of these. Or actually, I actually like playing on it, but I don't think it's going to be that balanced and that great. So we're gonna see how that works out. Where you have options to go around the flank, but the middle hill is the big combat point. +2 pointers here in the rear. 1 point is on the side, but the 3 zones in the middle are the big vocal points. So this map really wants you to fight in there, and not every division will be able to do that at the same pace. And the last one is a Valet Duel, which in my eyes might be my favorite. Like, I think this is the coolest one, as it has a nice balance of this forest area. It's kind of fixed black forest, as you have the open space, but the rear point zones are actually pushable, and you have the plateau, but it's not completely off the charts away from the rest of the map. It's you can reach down there, and you can also flank the enemy. There is a bit of a pathway into both sides rear if they are not careful here around the flank. You can push these zones relatively easily, and if you keep your rear zone, you get a tick if you push through here. But most of the fights will still be decided over here, with a bit of a town fight, with a bit of an open space. I don't think it's perfectly balanced between the sides, because it is an asymmetrical map and has some bigger asymmetries, like the open space here compared to the forest line over here. But in total, it should still be fine, and that you can play it in a lot of different ways, can tackle it in a lot of different ways, is a really, really cool one. So this is actually my favorite of the 1v1 maps. And yeah, let's get to one more really cool new feature that I talked about at the beginning with the spawn in feature. And a really, really cool new feature, especially helping out with modders who want to test their units and with players who want to just check out what unit would win against which, is the dev mode, which you can set up by putting in dev mode in the launch options line, and then by clicking F1 in a single player game. You can only play single player once this is activated. You can open the spawn unit menu, and there you then can set A or set Q here for the units, and then with Shift plus A or Shift plus Q, you can spawn in that unit once the game is going. So yeah, as you can see, these guys all spawn up. If I set A here for these guys, then I can spawn new units here, coming around, getting all across the battlefield. If I hold Alt while it's doing it, it spawns for the ally and so on. So you can't set all of this up. There are some little quick guides in here as well when you click the help button. So really well explained and really, really helpful to test unit on unit combat. A nice little feature, especially for modders testing out, will the unit crash the game, which unit will win, how should I balance. Like, this is a great addition to the game, but obviously it won't have a massive impact on the average players. So yeah, in the next video we're gonna talk about the 4 new operations, and then we're also gonna talk about my favorite units of Southag. If you don't want to miss that, consider subscribing down below, and leave a like if you liked what you saw. See you in the next one, guys.